Someone asked me, how do you determine your fees? Like, what do you know what to charge? So that's what we're going to talk about.
How'd you do that?
I see that success is not something you pursue. It is something you are.
You know you should charge, but what should you charge? I mean, how do you determine your fees? So let's actually get into this, because the question that I was asked, well, a couple questions that I was asked was, what should you start out charging? What's the difference between when you charge 10K versus 15K? And they were asking me this personally. And then like, what do you offer that's different, if anything, that actually justifies a price difference? And then what kind of clients pay $15,000 or more? In order to determine what your fees are, everything depends on your image. Everything depends on your image. I always say this, to charge $10,000, you have to look like you're worth $10,000. That's really what it comes down to. So you got to ask yourself, what does your website look like? I mean, if you were to just sit down and if you were to just look at your own website, you would say, oh, it looks like $1 million to me. But what do they think your website looks like? So the best way to get an objective point of view is if you go to a coffee shop, you go to Starbucks or whatever, you're sitting down and you talk to someone next to you and you show them your website. You say like, hey, like speakers charge anywhere from $1,000 to $100,000. What do you think that I charge by looking at this, by looking at my site? And whatever they say, whatever the answer is, take off $2,000, because they're really just going to tell you a little bit more just to make you feel kind of good. So if they say, oh, it looks like you charge maybe $3,000 or whatever, take off a couple grand and they really think you only charge like $1,000, because I mean, really they're just being nice to you. And even that might not be as objective, because you're there talking about, here's what my website looks like. If you really want to be objective, then have a friend do this. A friend says, hey, what do you think of this speaker's website? I mean, speakers charge anywhere between $1,000 and $100,000. I mean, $100,000 being like a famous person. What do you think this guy charges? And so you want to give a range, just because if you say something like speakers normally charge $10,000, then their range is going to be within $10,000. They're going to say, oh, maybe he charges $8,000, maybe he charges $12,000. But if you give a big range like that, then they'll give you a more legit answer. They'll say, oh, he looks like a scrub to me, he charges $2,000. Or they'll say, oh, he looks pretty good to me, he probably charges like $50,000. So you want to give them that big range that they can operate from. And you gotta get this objective perspective on your image, because that's going to give you an idea of what people think you're worth paying for. It doesn't matter what you think you're worth. The only thing that matters is what they think that you're worth. And so essentially, you want to start out by getting just a few gigs for free. That way you can build your image and do all that. I talked about that in other videos. But once you get all this, once you get the footage and everything, then you want to start out at $5,000. I mean, once you have a website, once you have footage and pictures, start out at $5,000. I'm telling you this, start out at $5,000. And here's what's going to happen. A couple things are going to happen. When you quote someone $5,000, either they're going to say, oh, that's too much. I mean, that's too much. And when they say this, what this tells you is that your image needs improvement. It means that your website, your videos, all that stuff, it needs to be improved, because you don't look like you're worth $5,000. Now, if people say like, okay, sure. I mean, if you say $5,000 and they're like, okay, yeah, perfect. Where do I sign? Then that tells you need to actually increase your rates, because you look better than $5,000. But if people keep saying to you, oh, we don't really have that budget, we only have $3,500, well, that tells you that you're about that range, that people think that, yeah, you're probably worth $5,000. They literally probably just don't have the budget. So you got to pay attention to how people respond to you. So when you say, oh, it's $5,000, they say, oh, it's too much. No, we only have $500. Well, what they're telling you is they don't think you're worth that much. If they say yes, if a lot of people are telling you yes, that means your image is worth, your image is better than you think it is, and you just need to increase your prices more. If they keep telling you, oh, we don't have the budget, and they go down just a little bit, so if you say $5,000 and they say, oh, we only have $4,000 or whatever, then that tells you, yeah, you're in that range and they really do believe you're worth that much. And I'm going to tell you a secret here. You see, my presentation right now, from the time that I got a $20,000 gig to the time that back in the day when I charged $500, it is literally the same presentation. The exact same thing. From when I was charging $500 to when I got a $20,000 gig, it's the same thing. The difference is my image. That's the difference. It is not what I do in the presentation. I mean, like I said, my presentation is bomb. I mean, I think my presentation is amazing. So it's always been the same thing. And the only difference is the image. And the advice that I heard in the past is that, oh, you can customize your presentation and then they'll pay you more. That's not really how it works. People pay celebrity speakers like 60 grand and up. Just because they're a celebrity speaker and they bring in a crowd. The celebrity speakers do not customize a presentation at all. I mean, they're charging a gang load. They don't customize a presentation. In fact, a lot of celebrity speakers don't even know who they're speaking for. They don't even know the company name. And so it is not about, it's not about customizing anything. It is about your image. It is 100% about your image. That is how you charge more, and that's how you know what to charge. So I tend to charge more if I have to do more, and I don't actually ask them if they want me to do more. I just know by talking to them if I'm going to have to do more. So I know that if they only hire me for entertainment, I don't really have to do much, because the entertainment, I've been doing it, I mean, so long, I don't even think about it when I'm on stage. It's like just automatic, just bam, 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 automatic. So I can literally just get on stage and it's the same thing over and over, no matter what company it is. If they want me to speak and entertain at the same time, well, now I do a little bit of research on the company, and I'll look to see like how people think and all sorts of stuff. So I have to do more, which means that I'm gonna charge more. So the more that I get involved, the more I charge. And the question where they ask like what clients actually pay $15,000, well, this sounds simple. And the clients that pay $15,000 and up are the clients who already paid $15,000 and up. What I mean by that is if you know that they hired another guy in the past and this other guy charged $30,000, then you know they can afford you. You know that if you said $25,000, then they'll be able to afford your 25 grand because they hired another guy last year who charged 30 grand. And this is how I got a $25,000 gig, well, multiple gigs, where I simply looked at someone who was charging way more than me, and I looked at what events they did, and I said, okay, let me contact them for next year. And so that's how you know what clients are going to pay $15,000 and up, or whatever you want to charge. 99% of the time, the price is in your head, and you always got to think that there's always someone out there who's willing to pay more. When you think, oh, $15,000, that's too much, I don't know if anyone's willing to pay that. All that stuff is in your head because there's always someone out there who's willing to pay that much and more. In fact, paying more, when people pay you more, it gives them peace of mind. This is why extremely rich people always pay for like the high priced items, because it gives them peace of mind. It lets them know that, hey, this isn't a scrub item. It's not going to break down. So when people pay you more, when events pay someone $25,000 and up and they pay that much, they automatically assume that you're great, because how else can you charge that much? But if you're only charging $500, then they will automatically assume that you're not good enough to charge more. So when you charge a lot, people automatically assume you're great. When you don't charge a lot, people automatically assume that you're not good because you're not charging a lot. So charging a lot is really good. And what I tend to do a lot of is I just throw out a higher fee. So no matter where I am, I just always throw out a higher fee. When I would get $10,000, I would say, okay, $15,000. And then I would say $25,000. I would always just throw out these high fees. And of course, a lot of times I wouldn't get a gig, but then I would get a gig. So when I said $25,000, they said, okay, sure, why not? So a lot of times, all you have to do is just throw out a higher fee, and that's literally all. The worst that can happen is they just say no. So just to recap, you want to start for free or pay to speak on a stage. That way you can actually get video footage and all that to improve your image. Then you say $5,000. You start out at $5,000. You're going to negotiate from there. Then you're going to improve your image, constantly. Just keep improving it just nonstop. And then you're just going to increase your price by looking at who charges more than you, and you look at what events they did and just contact those events. So how do you determine your fees? I mean, you just start out at a certain level, you just say $5,000, and you really just go from there and you keep improving your image. If you like this video, if you like these videos, comment on it, share it, tell other people about it, tell other people about the world, and, well, about these videos. So just comment, like it, share it, do the whole shebang.